This is Gene DeLisio with a featured sports interview from WDLB and WOSQ. Marshfield's Daulton Varsho is playing his first full season of pro baseball in the Arizona Diamondbacks farm system in 2018. Daulton finished his college career at UW-MIlwaukee in the spring of 2017 and was selected by Arizona with a supplemental pick between the second and third rounds of the 2017 baseball draft. The Diamondbacks assigned Daulton to their Class A farm club at Hillsboro, Oregon. For the summer of 2017, he played 50 games for Hillsboro, batting .311 with 7 home runs and 39 RBIs. We had the chance to speak with Daulton in February of 2018 before he reported to the Diamondbacks spring training facility. We first talked about Daulton's former Marshfield Tiger teammate, Elliot Ashbeck, who was about to report to the San Diego Padres for spring training. Elliot underwent surgery on his elbow in May of 2016 and threw to Daulton several times before our interview. And Daulton reported that Elliot appeared to throw the ball very well.
I thought he's looked great. His arm seems to be even better than what it was before. His velocity has jumped a little bit. His curveball's gotten a little bit more tighter, and it's got a little bit more break to it, which as a catcher I really like, but as a hitter you don't really want to see. But he's got some other things to still work on. I mean, coming back from that kind of surgery, I mean, you're obviously still going to have to kind of get back into the swing of things and trying to get back to normal. So I think by the end of spring training, or by the time we get to spring training, it'll be really close to that.
As a catcher on the college ranks and now in the pro ranks, have you come into contact with a lot of guys who have had that surgery? Is that something that's becoming more and more prevalent now?
Yeah, I know at college last year we had 3 guys who went down with that injury, and you're seeing it more and more nowadays, and it's mostly because of how hard the guys are throwing and the deal with of not being able to stretch correctly sometimes. But those are kind of freakish injuries, but they're becoming more and more relevant now today, and even with younger kids, and it's just hard to see because it takes a lot to get back to normal and trying to be able to be yourself again and kind of trusting yourself.
Well, let's talk about you and your baseball career now underway with some great success last year. First of all, let's go back to last June when you were drafted by Arizona. Tell us that feeling, what that was like to realize you were being drafted by a very good organization.
It was awesome. I mean, I got chills when I got the call, and I had my family and a couple of my friends and my girlfriend there, and it was just being able to be in that moment with them and be able to share it with them was awesome. But being able to be drafted by the Diamondbacks, I kind of got lucky because they're a great organization with great people in the front office, and I just love it there, and they kind of respect every player like how I imagined going into my first professional season.
I know, talking to other guys who've been through the baseball draft process, in this day and age, you don't have a lot of contact with the scouts and don't really know which team is looking at you strongly, which team is not. But did you have any inclination from Arizona that they were pursuing you?
To be honest, according to my agent, I was supposed to get drafted by the Cubs. They had me on their board really higher than a lot of other teams, and the Diamondbacks actually were kind of a surprise team that I didn't honestly think that I was going to get drafted by them. But I'm kind of glad I did because they're a great organization. But when Steve called me, he told me that you've been drafted by the Diamondbacks. It kind of surprised me a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great journey and kind of be able to start with a great team. And
being chosen in that area between the second and third round, did you expect to go that high?
According to a lot of the draft things, I wasn't supposed to, but I'm kind of glad I did because I kind of got to go with guys who I kind of knew. I knew Drew Ellis going into my first professional season, who got drafted the second round for us, and so I didn't really think I was going to go there, but kind of glad I did because I got stuck in I got picked by a great team.
We also talked, and you've gone through this before, the possibility of you changing positions, and people envision you perhaps as an infielder, an outfielder, not as a catcher. When you found out that the Diamondbacks were interested in you as a catcher and did want you to catch for them, what was that feeling for you?
That was awesome. I mean, my love is for catching, and it always will be. And I always work my butt off to try to be the best catcher I can. And I know that we've got a lot of great guys to help me along with that process of becoming a great catcher. And our catching coordinator has also been really, really good with me and being able to work on a lot of things that I haven't heard before, and hoping I can pass that information off to some younger kids in this generation and being able to help them a little bit out before they really get to higher levels. So I've been kind of blessed with being able to have such great opportunity.
Before we get to your pro career and your season last year, let's talk about UW-MIlwaukee. You're wrapping up a great career down there with the Panthers last spring. Tell us what playing for UW-MIlwaukee meant to you.
It was awesome. I mean, not a lot of kids are able to be close enough to home to have their parents and family come down and be able to see them mostly almost every home game. So it was awesome to be able to have them there and having great coaches to help me along the way. And when I stepped in there my freshman year, we had a lot of seniors. We were senior dominated, so it kind of was great to have the leadership from them and being able to come into a program where I kind of just fit in, and they kind of helped me along with kind of nudging me along the way and being able to, like, you're going to be able to contribute to this team. And I think that to the seniors and the couple guys who kind of led our team.
And, of course, the fact that you could catch there, once again, is a big benefit. So that really paid off for you going down there, didn't it?
Yeah, that was another big reason why I went there is Scott Duffick thought I could catch, and he stuck me there, and I kind of stayed there, and I really appreciate everything he's done for me.
When you look at the baseball on the level of the Horizon League, and you've gone south and seen some great programs, you've played other teams non-conference, where would you stack up the Horizon League and those programs compared to some other baseball you see around the country?
To be honest, I'm probably a little biased to this, but I think the Horizon League is a little underrated. I mean, UIC had 6 guys drafted last year, and you don't see that from many teams around the country. But I think it's very underrated. I think the Horizon League knows how to play baseball, and I think it's a really good stepping tool of going to the professional baseball, because those guys in that league know how to pitch. They kind of pitch around. They're not just guys who can throw really hard. So you kind of get that information right away going into college. And obviously the lineups are not as depth as like the SEC or the Big Ten. They don't have 1 through 9 where they can have like any of those guys hit. But you pretty much, when you're playing good competition like Wright State or UIC, I mean, you're pretty much 1 through 6, 1 through 7. They're pretty much stacked between that lineup, and so you kind of get that little bit of kind of the SEC, Big Ten, all those bigger kind of conferences that think that baseball is a little bit different. But when you play a team like in the Horizon League, they kind of play better baseball, and that's what I really liked about it.
Well, let's talk about now you starting your pro career last spring at Hillsboro, Oregon. Tell us about the journey up there, getting involved in pro baseball, what that adjustment was like for you.
That was a great spot to start for me. I liked my coaches there. My pitching coach and my head coach really helped me out a lot. My hitting coach also was really great. He kind of calmed me down and kind of realized that don't try to be too perfect. Don't take an at-bat too serious, because you got the rest of the season to worry about. And it was great to start there. The fans were awesome, and it was kind of like a college atmosphere because we had a lot of college guys there, but we also had some Latin guys. So it was kind of an introduction of how to be able to coordinate with some Latin guys, because some of the guys on the mound can't speak English. So being able to have a guy in the infield who can speak Spanish and English, I learned that firsthand of being able, like, okay, you got to help me translate here because he needs to understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And it was a great introduction to what professional baseball is and being able to understand how everybody works on a field.
Tell us about the adjustment for you as a hitter, facing a lot of guys you'd never seen pitch before, and how that went for you.
I mean, you take it like any other game, kind of the same approach, but you also learn how certain guys pitch, and I learned a lot of how kind of Latin guys play. They think they're kind of better than you in every way, so they're going to try to blow it by you for the most part. But then you also learn some different guys who are on the mound, how they start different. But then you also learn about the same guys on your team, how they want to pitch differently. And some guys have a lot of confidence, some guys don't. So learning from a hitting standpoint, it's really no different than what I learned in college. Just kind of taking one bat at a time and being able to slow down yourself in that special moment that you're able to get the game-winning hit or being able to just get on base for your team to win. So,
you know, Daulton, we've heard from a lot of baseball players about how they approach at-bats. And one of the key things for them is knowing the pitcher. And I've seen this guy the last 2, 3, 4, 7 years. I know he's going to throw this or do this. Playing college baseball, now starting in pro baseball, I guess you don't have that luxury. There's a guy out there you've never seen before. And so you don't have a book on that guy, and you don't have a book on the other 29 guys on their roster either. So when you're always faced with that situation, when you don't have a book on anybody you're facing, how do you approach an at-bat in those situations?
Well, we're actually fortunate because we have a lot of video. So we have video from past years or from other teams of certain guys who are pitching throughout the whole minor league and major league systems. So we're able to see what it's like, but not really in person. We're able to see it through a video. But knowing what they have and how their stuff kind of moves, it kind of gives us a little benefit of the doubt. But it's a little tough because you always kind of want to look at the starter because the starter goes mostly 6 innings and then bullpen guys come in, so that's where it kind of comes into a little tricky hand where you're not seeing the bullpen guys as much. But then again, we still have kind of charts on what they kind of throw, but you really got to watch on deck of how their stuff moves, what they have, because then when you get up to bat, I kind of looked forward to I looked at some guys, how certain guys approach. So I hit 6th and another lefty hit 4th. So I kind of looked how they pitched him because we kind of had similar approaches. So I kind of looked how they kind of pitched him and kind of based off of what they did to him, that's how they were going to kind of attack me, and that's how it kind of panned out through the whole year. But if I just kind of came in with just dry, not knowing what's going on, I mean, you're kind of up there battling and just challenging yourself of being able – I mean, you're sitting fastball for the most part and just kind of reacting to off speed. But I always go by the two things. I mean, you really got to see the ball first. If you don't see the ball, you're not going to be able to hit it. So, but other than that, I mean, we just have so much information out there on guys now that it's kind of like you kind of know who you're kind of going against. So
now, when you're in a minor league situation like you were in last year, what is the instruction part of the day for you? Before you start playing games, you're a young guy, you and your teammates have to be taught a lot, I'm sure, about the game of baseball. Is there a lot of time for instruction from the coaching staff, the managing staff? How does that play in your day as a minor leaguer?
Yeah, there's a lot of instruction. A lot of bullpens because there's a lot of bullpen guys who need to throw almost every day. So we got those. We got infield and outfield to work with. We got catching. And then we also have hitting, BP. So you're pretty much at the ballpark for almost a good 12 hours if you're really trying to get a full day of work in. But it does wear you down. You got to be smart with how much you're doing, and when you have an off day, being able to take advantage of it because you need to really relax and kind of ease your mind a little bit. But at the same time, it's kind of fun at the same time to be able to work because not a lot of people are able to be in that situation. So I kind of been blessed with the opportunity that I'm able to play professional baseball and be able to do all those things because that's really what it's about, the grind of being able to go to the ballpark every day and be able to play the game I love.
But it is a professional approach, isn't it? This is your job, and it's not like you're going out there to mess around or have a good time. This is a job you have to take very seriously, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you don't take it seriously, somebody else could come right by and swipe your job. I mean, that's just that simple.
Well, tell us about the idea, the success you had. You had a great season at Hillsborough, Player of the Week a couple of times, I believe, hit well over 300 and at the top of the statistical categories in several areas. Tell us about the success you had and what that meant to you.
I mean, I'm kind of a humble guy. I mean, I've always lived by one quote. There are ones that are humble and there are ones that are about to be. But I mean, I just kind of just kind of took it as a blessing because I was able to do well my first season, and not a lot of guys are able to make that jump from aluminum bat to wood bat and be able to be that successful. But at the same time, I really enjoy just having fun and being able to go to the ballpark every day and doing the thing that I love, and the success is a bonus. I mean, you're always trying to be successful, but there's also a lot of failing in it because baseball is a game of failure. As a hitter, you're going to fail more than times you're going to succeed. So you kind of learn with that, and you kind of take day by day of trying to get positives, whether it's a walk, getting on base, catching really well, helping out your pitcher. There's all these kind of positives that you can pull out on a day, and being able to go, if you go 0 for 4 at the plate, but if you can find a positive out of your day to make one in the category, I mean, what you're helping your team out to win or try to win. So a lot of kids are so success orientated when they should be more progress orientated, of being able to know that they got better for the day. So I think that was a big thing for me, of knowing that if I go 0 for 4, that's not the worst thing at all, because the next day I could go 4 for 4. You just got to go on to the next day and being able to kind of wash out everything that happened.
Tell us about some of the areas you feel that you made good progress in as a defensive player, as a catcher last season.
I learned a lot about framing and the metrics now that it's a lot busy with baseball. Knowing that we're graded and the umpire's graded, and learning a lot, kind of having a good conversation with the umpire and kind of get to know him. I think that was a really big kind of step for me, of being able to understand that. But framing was a big thing, and it's going to be a big thing for our organization for a while. So if you can really kind of frame the ball, you're going to be a big league catcher.
Well, how about this spring training coming up now, leaving just a few weeks, and tell us about some things you want to accomplish with the Diamondbacks this spring.
I mean, I'm just going to still be myself, and but I do always want to get better at catching and knowing a little bit more. Also getting to know more pitchers in our organization, because that always helps me, because a lot of guys kind of trust me and want me to catch them. I mean, that's a big benefit for me. But just being able to get my first spring training under my belt and being able to know what it's like, it will be very successful for me, and knowing that organization is really trustworthy of me. So.
And before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple of questions, or at least one question, about Trevor Schwecke and your thoughts about him and the accomplishments that he made at Milwaukee last season.
Trevor's a great player. I'm kind of glad that he was able to have the opportunity to come to Milwaukee and being able to play at Division I. We really needed him last year. We needed somebody to step up, and he was the one that kind of did it. But I hope he has a great year. I know they're brought in a lot of guys, a couple of JUCO guys and a lot of freshmen, so they'll be on the younger side again this year. It will probably take a little bit of time to kind of rebuild that whole, because we had that such senior dominated class my freshman year, so it was kind of hard to kind of rebuild after that, because you're bringing a lot of JUCO guys and then freshmen, so you're kind of starting with a whole new group all the time. But I'm hoping this year, when we brought a lot of freshmen in my sophomore year, they're juniors now. So I'm hoping that group can kind of have success in being able to help Milwaukee kind of win the Horizon League tournament, because we have yet to do that since I went there.
You know, we all knew that Trevor could field on that level. He's an outstanding defensive player. But did anybody have the idea that he could hit as well as he did down there?
I think that was the surprising factor. I know that we liked him for his fielding, and he had a great glove, but I think he's learning a lot about hitting and being able to hit in different situations and knowing a different style of approach at the Division I. But I think if he just is himself and doesn't try to get too big, I mean, I think he'll be very successful there.
Former Marshfield Tiger baseball standout Daulton Varsho, who reported to the Arizona Diamondbacks for spring training in February of 2018. This is DeLisio for WDLB and WOSQ Sports.